So many thanks to Raymond Elliott for his leadership of the choir, and so many thanks to the choir for lifting up our hearts with beautiful music. Will you take an easy breath with me as we begin? Many of us know a beloved folk story about Mullah Nasruddin, sometimes called feeding the coat. After a long day in the fields, fasting for Ramadan, Nasruddin shows up, a little sweaty, a little dusty, not the cleanest shoes, to a wealthy neighbor's feast. Turned away by the host's glances to the side, he goes home and he puts on his finest clothes, returns, and is suddenly ushered to the head of the table. So he begins not to feed himself, but his coat. Eat, coat, eat, he says, because clearly the honor at this house is for the clothing and not the person. It's an old story with a current moral. Too often, the world offers welcome to our credentials, our neatness, our capacity to perform ease and politeness. Too often, people are welcomed when they appear low maintenance, when their access needs are invisible. My experience around that is it's okay if you're disabled, Reverend Soto, but it would be better if you didn't act like it. When our grief is tidy, we welcome people. You can cry, but not too much. And when their love is legible to the majority gaze. But coats don't eat, and souls grow hungry when the welcome does not perceive them. What do I mean by welcome that perceives us? I mean a hospitality that pays sacred attention. It does not assume sameness. I want to call your attention to the brilliant thing that Christine Hinderer said during the Time for All Ages. When we're different together, we can support each other. And what does it mean to be different in this time? What does it mean? You are the ones who can heal the world partly because you choose love, you choose patience, you choose care, and you choose connection at a time when, did you hear what Kim said? 350,000 Oregonians are going to experience reduced or eliminated food stamps. That's a real hunger. And it's not for a coat, it's not for appearances, it's not for good behavior, but for real, actual people. And they need you. One of the things we can do is not ask people to shrink themselves to fit. We stretch instead the space for them to arrive. We say, you're welcome to be here. We've tried to become a place that you can thrive. And when you think about yourselves as a congregation, that's part of what you're going to feel and know. That you've done that work to say, not everyone's the same, and we don't require that in our community. We don't have to think alike to love alike, but we also don't have to dress alike, eat alike, sing alike, right? There's a lot there. Sometimes we think welcome is a feeling. Warmth in the foyer, cookies at coffee hour, and don't get me wrong, I'm a fan. But transformative hospitality isn't that. It's a practice. It's a discipline of seeing. And when we stop there and say seeing, I want to remind you that even blind people see. We're not saying something only physical. We're talking about being available to the world with your heart and your perception. Greeters who know where things are and who needs to know it. And preaching that name's for you. The thing that I will remind you often, because it's bonus, that people with disabilities are not metaphors for brokenness, but full people with theologies of their own bodies. Bathrooms people can use without fear, like the ones downstairs where you go in peacefully. It's leaders who know that all ages really means all ages, so that you don't turn down any opportunity for wisdom. It's the crayons and the fidgets in the back of the sanctuary, and the occasional meltdown that teaches everyone patience and allows us to practice our mercy with the people that we care about. Perceiving welcome means that we not only notice need, but also gift. When I say I see you, I'm not only seeing what you lack, I'm seeing what you bring that we might lack without you. That's why the theologian Emily Towns writes about the necessity of bone deep love, a love that moves with us and through us, that knows how to recognize people in the marrow, past stereotype and sentiment into the daily work of care. Bone deep love is a form of perception. It refuses to stop at appearances and insists on relationship. Many of us have experienced the opposite. We've been measured by our coats, our degrees, the way we walk or don't walk, the way we speak or don't speak, who we love, whether we can climb the stairs, whether our grief fits into the room's timetable. A teacher who notices the way you think, that helps. A nurse who speaks to you as a person, not around you, that helps. A stranger who thinks of what you might need, moving out of the way, helping with a package, pointing a direction, not because you look like you need help, but because they perceive your dignity and want your comfort to be ordinary. That helps. Those moments are not small. They are rehearsals for the world that we want, the one that we dream about. The welcome that perceives us has at least three movements: attention, adjustment, and accompaniment. When I say attention, I'm saying that we listen, we look, we ask. We don't expect one size fits all to be the solution. Generous questions that allow room for specificity are what we're talking about. What would make this easier for you? Is there anything I should know about how to best allow you or accompany you to participate? Attention is the first movement because people should not have to become loud to be understood and supported. Adjustment. Once we learn, we change. We change the lighting, we change the order of service, we add captions, we add large print. We rewrite a policy that sounded neutral, but landed like a closed gate. Adjustment means our welcome costs us something: time, budget, pride. The good news is that the cost is an investment in the community that we could not have otherwise. The last one is accompaniment. And then we stick around. Hospitality is not a moment, it's a relationship. We don't just make a single accommodation. Well, there's a ramp, right? Sure, there is. And we want that. But people are more than statistics, people are more than mechanics. And when we learn the rhythms of each other's lives, that's how we become in good relationship, in warm hospitality. We get it wrong sometimes and try again. Accompaniment means we do our best not to carry the burden of their belonging alone. Our spiritual traditions are full of teachers. You know that in Unitarian Universalism, we span many types of thought. The Christian monk Henry Nouwen described hospitality as a moment from hostility to openness, creating free space where strangers can become friends. In Islam, the fast of Ramadan trains the body to know hunger so that we might perceive the hunger of others. so that when the table opens, it is open wide. In Jewish practice, the Sabbath table is set each week with a seat for Elijah, an empty chair that says, "We expect the stranger. We are preparing to be surprised." In human ethics, the dignity of every person is not a belief, not a feeling, but a commitment. The door is open because our flourishing is tangled together in one weaving piece. And yet, welcome is not the same as agreement. Perceptive hospitality doesn't require us to share every conviction. It requires us to share the work of care. Disagreements will happen, but in communities that practice welcome as perception, we handle disagreements with affection, attention, adjustment, and accompaniment. We don't weaponize rules in order to embarrass people. We don't use safety as a euphemism for avoiding hard truths. We learn to argue with our coats off, with our defensiveness checked at the door, so that our full humanity can sit down together and eat. Some of us hear all this and worry. Do you worry? Do you worry that you might not get it all right? We won't. We won't get it all right. But getting it right is not the goal. Belonging is. Perceptive welcome is iterative. It is 1,000 small moves that accumulate into a culture. It is writing access notes before the event, not after. It is asking children to do the parts of the service they can participate with so that they are perceived as hosts. It is training ushers to notice who's new and who looks lost. You all are so warm in this way, and don't just allow people to float through your service without saying, "Hello, this is how we work this." And that is one of your strengths. That's a beautiful thing. We empower people to act without drama and to slide into the aisle like they've always been there. Perhaps you're thinking of someone you love who's not in the room. Maybe they left because our welcome did not perceive them, or because another community's welcome did, or because life pulled them in different directions. A welcome that perceives is also a welcome that releases. We hold people against our bones, as poet Mary Oliver writes, and then, when the time comes, we let them go without resentment. Hospitality that clings is another kind of possession. Hospitality that perceives can bless the leaving, trusting that love is bigger than our seating chart. So, what can we do this week? 3 invitations. First, practice one act of attention. Choose someone in your orbit, here or somewhere else, and ask a question that lets them know that you perceive them more truly. Listen to the answer. Write it down if it's hard to remember. Let their specificity change the way you interact. Second invitation, practice one act of adjustment. Change a habit or a space in a way that makes room. Move a meeting to a hybrid format. Put the wheelchair space in the center, not off to the side. Add text to your next post that explains something to someone new. If you don't lead, make sure that you think of someone not in the room and how they might more thoroughly participate. Third, practice one act of accompaniment. Check back, follow through, send the link, save the seat, walk at the pace of the person you're with. Hospitality has a speed, and it's almost always slower than the calendar insists. I want to return to Nasruddin. After he feeds his coat, the absurdity becomes a mirror. The host realizes the mistake. The story doesn't tell us what happens, but we can imagine a better ending. The guests laugh, a little embarrassed, and they begin to see each other more clearly. Someone notices that the mud on Nasruddin's shoes is proof of his faithfulness, the sign that he worked and fasted and came as he was. Someone asks him to sit and tell a story. Someone else takes the host aside with affection and says, "Next time, let's make sure we're feeding people and not their costumes." We can write that better ending here. We can become a community that expects to be changed by the people who arrive. We can become a congregation whose welcome sees, a place where no one needs to prove they are easy to love in order to be loved. We can become hosts who know that every stranger is a neighbor we haven't met yet. Or, in the words of Allen Unitarian Universalist, we are looking for the people who are looking for us. And every neighbor is a teacher in our shared school of compassion. A final word of blessing. May this be a house where perception is devotion. May our attention be sharp and tender, our adjustments swift and joyful, our accompaniment steady and kind. May those who come hungry for belonging find love here, not only bread for the body, but recognition for the soul. And when we ourselves arrive at a new threshold, may we meet hosts who have learned the same holy work and carry it with us, code and all, into the wider world. Amen. And so may we live.